Good afternoon, Vice President Mark Spencer from NeoWeather with you on this Tuesday afternoon, December 22nd. This video is going to go over the Christmas Eve, Christmas Day storm. We're going to see lake effect snow into at least part of the weekend as well. So we're going to take a deep dive into some of the model data that we've been looking at over about the past 12 to 24 hours. I do have a regional snowfall forecast to show you as well, but don't take the numbers verbatim, just guidance right now. Specific forecasts for your areas will be posted to your accounts later tonight or early Wednesday morning, depending on your location and confidence in exact specifics at this point in time, especially in areas that get lake effect snow. But since you watched our video on Sunday, we have been able to answer some of those questions we had, those with timing, the track of the low, and how everything comes together, how the system phases together. Models have come into some really good agreement at this point. That's really good. That gives us some good confidence in a forecast. So we're going to take a deep dive into some model data right now, starting with the GFS. This will start around 7 a.m. tomorrow. We're looking at low placement somewhere across the northern plains, generally somewhere in Minnesota too. So there's pretty good agreement on where we think that initial primary surface low is going to be. Plenty of snow around that north side of that low. This is all going to come together. We're going to see a lot of moisture come out of the Gulf as this system phases together, and you'll see that in a moment as well. We're also going to watch for secondary low placement somewhere in the Ohio Valley, the lower Ohio Valley, or somewhere in the Tennessee Valley, somewhere pretty much right in Kentucky more or less. And then that's going to come up the Appalachians into the upper Ohio Valley, and we'll see a couple different solutions on that, which also comes into play with the forecast too. So let's put this into motion right now. Here's our low tracking across the northern portions of the Great Lakes. Here's all that moisture, rain to snow. Be a little freezing rain and sleet in there too, but plenty of heavy snow Christmas Eve night into Christmas Day across eastern Ohio, western Pennsylvania, western New York. That'll translate on up into parts of Ottawa, Canada. Then we'll get that lake effect behind it. We'll see lake effect coming off of Lake Ontario into places like Watertown, New York. We'll see lake effect along the eastern shore here of Lake Erie from far northeastern Ohio into northwestern PA and southwestern New York. Dunkirk could get some decent snow. We'll also see some lake effect snow coming off of Lake Michigan. Now where that sets up will be interesting too, depending on the wind direction a little bit. You'll see I'll have southwestern lower Michigan kind of circled for some of the heavier snow. But if we get more of a northerly component wind, that could actually translate down into places like South Bend, Indiana, across portions of northern Indiana. And if we get that big streamer, that could even reach places like Indianapolis, Indiana. Now, not too much confidence in that right now. At this point, that's something we will just have to watch. Pretty much everything shuts down by Saturday evening as high pressure comes in, takes control. We get that drier air. We get the sinking air as well, and that should put an end to just about everything. So let's take a look aloft. This is at 500 millibars, or about 18,000 feet aloft in the atmosphere. We are looking at two things. The lines, we're looking at heights of the atmosphere, and then all of the pretty colors you see here, we're looking at relative velocity or vorticity, also just in layman's terms, energy in the upper atmosphere that this storm is really needing to really get going. So we're going to see our storm right here, the big dip here, then it all starts coming together. It starts picking up the southern jet stream here. It closes off over Ohio. Everything's spinning around it as it pulls on off into Canada. We'll actually get a couple troughs moving across the lower Great Lakes, and that will provide our focal point for our lake effect snow Friday into Saturday. Now, by late Saturday and early Sunday morning, you can see we kind of lose everything, which is really good. We'll get a little bit of a break to finally turn around and clean up and probably get ready for the next system. So now we've seen that. Let's look at the European. This just loops continuously. It's not one big storm after the next or anything like that. So it's just the same storm looping over and over again. So don't worry about multiple massive storms one after another or anything like that. So here's our system, pretty close to the GFS. Plenty of snow. Here's our moisture. Rain to snow Thursday afternoon, Thursday night. Again, there'll be a little freezing rain or sleet in there, especially across northeastern Ohio, northwestern PA for sure. That might cause some slick spots, but I don't think it lasts long enough, to be honest with you. And we do get that secondary low developing right here across southeastern Kentucky, and then it tracks up the Appalachians. It does retrograde a little bit just north of Lake Ontario. That's where it moves back north or west a little bit, that retrograding. That's going to kind of bring some moisture around the backside of the system, and that allows that energy to also wrap around it, and that's going to make some good lake effect in some spots, especially across portions of northwestern PA and southwestern New York. I think you'll see a decent bit of lake effect from that. We'll let that loop one more time just so you can kind of see it there. It's a pretty impressive system, and it's very similar to the GFS actually. It's not too far off. Here's what it does with the upper energy at 500 millibars or 18,000 feet. You'll see the phasing down here with that southern jet stream, really, really nice. It all wraps up, cuts off over Ohio, and boy, just plenty of energy streaming across the lower Great Lakes as we get through the day on Friday and into Saturday. Plenty of energy to be found here. Actually, it's almost similar to the system we had at the beginning of December there. It's similar, not exactly the same. We're not going to see the exact same setup with that. No two storm systems are exactly alike, but it does have some similar characteristics. It's a big, huge trough here with everything cutting off. Look at all the energy on the backside of it just wrapping around. That's quite an impressive system. Now we have the Canadian model. It'll be pretty similar. Now it treats the secondary a little differently. Develops it over here in Alabama, and then it retrogrades here across portions of central PA and central New York a little bit. Then it kind of bounces around a little bit, but this model has a tendency to do that. But the overall track of the primary low, pretty much the same. The snow shield, the rain to snow, it's a little more aggressive with some of the freezing rain and sleet. Then we get that snow behind it. What's different about this one is that secondary low. You'll see it right here develop in just a second here. That'll be sometime Thursday afternoon, and then it tracks up the Appalachians and it retrogrades right here, right around Toronto, Ontario, and then it kind of bounces around a little bit before moving on off into the Hudson Bay region. If that solution even comes close to happening, that's some significant snow for eastern Ohio and western Pennsylvania, just off the synoptic snow, and that would be early Christmas morning. That could be some heavy snow in spots. Also gets the lake effect going pretty good too. Now, the Canadian did pretty good with the nor'easter actually. It actually was the only model that called for that really significant snow we saw across like Binghamton, New York, parts of northern Pennsylvania, on up into parts of Vermont and New Hampshire. It was the only model that had some aggressive amounts in this narrow band of really heavy snow, almost 4 feet. So it actually did a pretty good job. It did a pretty good job with the system we had at the beginning of December too. So this model, you kind of got to give it some weight, even though it's actually the most aggressive model we have. It's displaying the most snow out of everything. I don't think it's going to get close to that in this particular case, but some form of the European or the Canadian does seem kind of likely right now. Here's what it does with the energy aloft. It really does come together really nice. It dips down here. We get that slightly earlier phasing. It cuts off over the mid-Ohio Valley pretty much. Well, the lower to mid-Ohio Valley, somewhere around Cincinnati there. So that's kind of the cutoff for it. And we'll see that again right here. So it actually cuts off a little bit further south. It phases together a little bit sooner. So that brings that snow a little bit further west. But we also get that big snow too with that retrograde. And we saw that energy there with it. We'll see it one more time. It's really nice. And again, that will also feed our lake effect snow Christmas night into Saturday too. So here it is cut off, and then you get all this energy wrapping around behind it. And there's another good piece of energy coming in late in the day on Friday into Saturday. So a really impressive system that it's showing here. So now, with all that said and done, how much snow are we going to get? So again, don't take these numbers verbatim. Don't take them to the bank. Don't take them to the casino. Don't take them to the dog track. These are subject to change a little bit still. But what I want to highlight is where we are expecting some of the heavier amounts of snow. And I do want to highlight that, yeah, someone's coming up with some significant snow for sure. A couple areas that are still a bit uncertain: southeastern lower Michigan to Detroit metro, and then also parts of southwestern PA. Not entirely sold on these amounts here, but they're certainly possible. They could go down. We could have these little, if you will, divots in it where you have some lower amounts because of the way everything comes together. But right now, I think we get good phasing, and with everything, we'll see some good snow. So we'll kind of start out here in Minneapolis, which could see near a foot of snow. Duluth could see 12 to as much as 18 inches of snow if it all comes together well. Not a whole lot of snow. Chicago into Wisconsin, back towards Des Moines, central Illinois, less than an inch. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised you don't see much more than half an inch. Maybe just a dusting on the grass, and that's really about all you get. Not a whole lot of snow to be found here. Why is that? Well, the snow forms further east when that system really starts phasing together. That translates into Indiana too. We don't get a whole lot of snow, 1 to 2 inches of snow at the most right now. That could change a little bit. We'll have to keep an eye on it, but I'm not expecting significant snows for Indy or anything like that. The question here will be the lake effect snow that I have across southwestern lower Michigan. That creeps up on Kalamazoo with 4 to 8, maybe 10 inches of snow, and then that prime portion there, 8 to 12 inches of snow. This will be very dependent on the wind direction. If we get this kind of more northwesterly wind direction, this is pretty good. If we get more of a westerly wind direction, we'll cut the amounts down a little bit, and it'll actually probably get further inland towards like Jackson or so. If it becomes more of a northerly component, then it starts getting into places like South Bend, Indiana, and it could even get further inland. There is a suggestion of that. I'm not sold on it. It is something we will have to kind of watch closely. But right now, we're going to run with that. Our bigger snows across portions of eastern Michigan, 4 to as much as 8 inches of snow, although I think much of the area will probably be in the 4 to 6 inch range with 7 and 8, more in the higher terrain, especially north of Detroit there. That translates into the Toledo area, down towards central Ohio. Columbus right now, I'm thinking 4 to as much as 6, but any westward trend could certainly get you 7, 8, 9 inches of snow. Not unheard of, not sold on it yet though. But pretty good confidence, 4 or 6 inches of snow. You'll probably be right down the middle of that range. As you get on up into southeastern Ohio, West Virginia, western PA, 8, 10, maybe upwards of a foot of snow in spots. It's certainly possible. Northern Ohio, yeah, not looking that great again. 12, 14, maybe 16 inches of snow in spots. And then you get into the primary lake effect zones, northeastern Ohio, northwestern PA, southwestern New York, Dunkirk, just south of Buffalo there, could see 1.5 feet to almost 2 feet of snow. It is certainly possible at this point. The other bullseye for lake effect, yep, Watertown, New York could certainly see 1.5 feet or more of snow. Now, as you get further east, remember, all the snow kind of pulls off to the north-northeast, kind of like this. So we don't get a lot of snow in the mountains. State College not getting a lot of snow, probably an inch or so, inch or two for Syracuse. That'll depend a little bit. You could actually get in on some lake effect depending on the setup, but right now, not too favorable for that. So really not a whole lot of snow there either. Now, this could all change. How that system tracks, how that secondary low acts, if it's more like the Canadian, these numbers could go up across a larger area. If it's a faster moving system, it just doesn't quite set up, or the phase happens a little later, the higher numbers could go down a little bit first off, but then your heavier snow zone also shifts more to the east. If it moves slower, we could see heavier snow off to the west. If it phases sooner, the system could come a little bit west with the heavier snow. So still some things to really kind of hash out that we'll have to finesse through about the next 24 hours or so. Now, there's a few other big ticket items we also have to take care of too. So here's the big takeaways from the storm. Rain to snow Thursday morning and afternoon from west to east across the region, especially Indiana, lower Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and western New York. By Thursday night, we're all snow pretty much everywhere. We will see some sleet, freezing rain possible. I think the best chance for that right now, eastern Ohio, northwestern PA into western New York. It could create some slick spots for a time. We'll want to be careful, and that is because we're going to have temperatures crashing. Now, tomorrow on Wednesday, across much of the region, we're going to be in upper 40s to around 50 degrees. It's going to be warm, and just prior to that cold front coming through on Thursday, we'll be in the mid to upper 40s, and then temperatures in a few hours will be below freezing, and we keep going down. We're in the teens on Christmas Day. It'll also be windy, so wind chills will probably be in the low teens to single digits, maybe a little bit colder. We'll have to keep an eye on it. The winds will also create some blowing and maybe drifting of the snow as well. It'll also reduce visibility at times, so do be careful for that. The flash freeze is kind of a big thing, especially in areas where you don't get much snow. So Indiana, western Ohio, where we have that 1 to 2 inches there, that's kind of concerning because you may actually not get to remove the snow fast enough. I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. It is something to watch. You'll likely be treating and plowing while it's still snowing, which I know is not ideal, but with the temperatures so cold, anything that's left untreated and wet will freeze in a short period of time. We'll also have the heavy lake effect snow possible into the day on Christmas Day, Christmas night, and then through Saturday. It does wind down gradually from west to east on Saturday, which is really good. I think by Saturday night, we're pretty much done with all the lake effect, except in a few spots, more so towards Watertown, New York, and places like that. But other than that, I think it does shut down. Sunday right now looks to be a quiet day. So we're going to be here with you through the entire storm. We're going to be with you Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, on Saturday. So we will be around. If you have any questions, just want to see how things are going, a quick little update or something, you'll be able to get in contact with us. Again, watch your weather portal accounts for forecasts that'll come out later this evening or early Wednesday morning. And of course, we'll be providing updates both before and throughout the storm. Stay safe out there and have a Merry Christmas.